They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My father, he was a butcher. A master of his craft. He took life, yes, but with reverence, with purpose. He transformed it. Made it sustenance. Made it a service. Me. I was to be his successor. To wield the cleaver, the saw, the boning knife. To understand the anatomy of a beast, to break it down with precision, without malice. They called him the butcher. But never, not once, did he raise a hand in anger. Never did he spill blood without meaning. Now, they call me the butcher's son. And I'm ordered to spill blood without meaning at all.
To receive our videos regularly, you know what to do. Subscribe to this channel, like and share this video. Thank you.
The year was 1943. The war, they said, was everywhere. But in our village, nestled deep in Bavaria, it felt like a distant rumble, a storm cloud on the horizon we hoped would pass us by. My name is Klaus. I was 17. My world was the cool, damp interior of my father's butcher shop, the rhythmic thud of his cleaver against the block, the scent of sawdust, spices, and fresh meat. Father was a quiet man. A man of peace. He believed in honest work, in providing for your family, in the simple dignity of a good day's labor. He taught me about respect for life, even the life we took for food. Klaus, he'd say, his voice a low rumble, a good butcher respects the animal. We give it purpose. We do not waste. We do not inflict pain needlessly. He saw the sacred in the mundane. He taught me the anatomy of a pig, a cow, a lamb. Every bone, every muscle, every sinew. He taught me how to find the quickest, most humane way. Not to destroy, but to disassemble. To understand. To transform. Then the drums started beating louder. The speeches grew fiercer. The posters appeared. And one morning, a crisp, official-looking envelope arrived. For me. 17. Just a boy. But old enough, they said, to serve the fatherland. I stood awkwardly in a freshly issued uniform, too big in places, too tight in others. Father didn't argue. He didn't fight. He just looked at me, his eyes full of a pain I couldn't comprehend then. He said nothing of going to war, of killing. He just hugged me tight, for what felt like the last time. Remember what I taught you, Klaus, he whispered. Remember who you are. I was part of a desperate charge across no man's land. Explosions around us. Other soldiers falling. I stumble, my face a mask of terror. And then I saw an enemy soldier, equally young and terrified, rise from a foxhole. He was just a boy, like me. Mud on his face, eyes wide with the same fear that gripped my gut. Not an enemy. Not a monster. Just a boy. My finger froze on the trigger. My father's words echoed. Respect the animal. This was no animal. This was a man. With my hands trembling and the enemy soldier looking at me, the butcher shop and my father's gentle smile flashed before my eyes. And then, I was back on the battlefield. The sound of a single, sharp gunshot jolted me back to reality, and I saw the enemy soldier fall. The shot came. Not from my rifle. From somewhere beside me. The boy fell. A red stain blooming on his uniform. My legs buckled. I choked back a scream. That wasn't me. But it could have been. And the terror, the guilt, it wrapped around me like a cold, wet shroud. After that day, something broke inside me. The world became a kaleidoscope of mud, blood, and the hollow echoes of screams. Every order to advance, every command to fire, was a cleaver striking against my soul. My father taught me precision. Purpose. Here, it was all random, senseless. A game of chance where the stakes were everything. How could I carve a life when I was meant to destroy one? How could I honor the purpose of a beast when I was turning men into beasts? I tried to find solace in the rhythms of the trench. The cleaning of the rifle, the sharing of meager rations, the desperate jokes that tasted like ash in our mouths. But every time my fingers wrapped around the cold metal of my weapon, I felt my father's ghost at my shoulder, shaking his head. I kept his words close. Remember what I taught you, Klaus. Remember who you are. But who was I now? A butcher's son, yes. But no longer transforming life into sustenance. Now, transforming men into memories. Another assault. Another wave of screaming, of fire, of bodies falling. My training, crude as it was, kicked in. I moved, I fired, I ducked. I became a part of the machine. But then, I saw him. Lying there, exposed. An enemy, yes, but wounded. Bleeding. Helpless. My comrades pushed past, focused on the advance. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. All I saw was a man in pain. A creature suffering. My father's face flashed before my eyes. Not the disapproving ghost, but the man who understood suffering. The man who, even in taking a life, sought to minimize pain. He wouldn't have left him. I made a decision. I scrambled out of the trench, under fire, and moved towards the wounded enemy soldier. My comrades shouted. They cursed. But I moved. I crawled. Every inch of ground felt like a mile. Every bullet whizzing past, a personal challenge. But I couldn't leave him. I couldn't be that kind of butcher. I reached the wounded soldier. I quickly but gently roll him over, exposing a wound. I pull out a field dressing, awkwardly trying to apply it. His eyes met mine. Fear, then surprise. Then, something else. Recognition. I wasn't there to kill him. I was there to help. To stem the flow. To buy him time. It was a crude attempt. But it was an attempt at life, not death. My comrades grabbed me and dragged me back into the trench, shouting at me. I was cursed at, threatened with a court-martial. But something had shifted. The cold shroud lifted, just a little. I hadn't taken a life. I had, however briefly, chosen to preserve one. The war raged on. And I continued to survive. I fired my rifle. I moved when ordered. But something fundamental had changed. I saw faces now. Not just targets. I saw the fear in their eyes. The humanity. My father taught me about the grain of the meat. How to cut with it, not against it. How to respect the structure. And out here, amidst the chaos, I began to see the grain of humanity. The threads that connected us, even in this brutal tapestry of war. I never became the butcher my father envisioned. Not in the shop, with the cleaver and the block. But out here, in the darkest corners of humanity, I tried to remember his lessons. To find purpose, even in the senseless. To acknowledge suffering. To find the humanity, even when surrounded by the monstrous. They called my father, the butcher. They made me, the butcher's son. But my father's legacy wasn't about taking life. It was about understanding it. Respecting it. And in this hell, where men became numbers, and death was a constant companion, I found that even a butcher's son could choose to preserve a piece of his soul. To remember that even in the business of killing, there was still a choice to be made. A choice to be human.